I'm Sabrina Ware, and welcome back to Real Talk, presented by the Sanctuary of Hope. Now that we're into the year 2022, we have a new series that we're going to be discussing over the next 3 episodes, and we're going to be looking at refining, reshaping, and renewing ESP, emotional, spiritual, and physical health. So today with me, I have a good friend of mine that I'm so excited that her and I are going to chop it up here at Real Talk. Her name is Shernette, and she is a nurse, and she has such great insight about emotional health and mental health. So we're going to chat with each other, and we're going to chat with you. So Shernette, tell the online audience a little bit about you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shernette, and I'm here with Sabrina. We actually met at work, and it was one of those relationships that it's like we felt like we had known each other for a long time. I've been a nurse for probably more than 25 years, and I've gone through the whole med-surg, ICU, and finally found my calling in psych, where I met you.
Wow.
Sometimes we start doing things because it's like, okay, this is what I've always thought I wanted to do.
Right.
And then you build, and it feels like you're doing the right thing. However, when I decided to do behavioral health is when I realized that I actually found what my passion was.
Wow.
So I've been doing this for about 2 years now. Out of the 25 years, I finally found my passion, and I've actually have not enjoyed working as much as I'm enjoying it now. So
very nice.
That's my story, and I'm growing in it, and I'm going to continue to grow.
Okay.
So,
well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Thanks for having me here. I'm so excited. I'm really excited.
Great. So as we talked about, I said we're going to be looking at ESP. So today we're going to be focusing on emotional health and what that looks like. Let's talk about it from the respect of what emotional health looks like for women and even some of the challenges that we have and how that kind of trickles down to the family. And I know you're like big on self-care.
I am big on self-care. And I am that way because you have to reach inside it has to come from your experience. And my experience has been where as women, and women especially in general, when you say woman, 2 things come to mind. Nurturer, caregiver. Those are the 2 things. Those are our responsibility. And those are the things that we grow into, and we try to fill those shoes. And we try to become accomplished in those things. Because once you're able to nurture and to care for, not necessarily yourself, then you've become accomplished, right? And that's usually the definition that we have as children, young women growing up. That's your role.
Right.
It's almost like an understanding that that's your place. However, sadly, as we get older and we realize how important it is that we take care of ourselves, we can't even find ourselves because we were never there. We were never taught to be present. We were never taught to get to know who we are. We were never taught that we were important. Everyone else was important. So, you take care of the man in your life, your husband, your spouse, whomever. Then the kids come along. 1 child, 2 children, and you become so extended.
Right.
Self-care?
What is that?
No.
What is that?
No.
Yeah.
So now that I'm older, my children are grown. I'm actually, for probably the first time within the last couple of years, getting to know myself.
Wow.
And I realized that I never actually I never actually took the time. I forgot. I forgot.
Gotcha.
And this happens.
Right.
I'm sure this is nothing new. So that caregiver, that caretaker, that nurturer role,
Right.
we have to understand how important it is for us to see ourselves. In talking to people now, being in an environment of behavioral health, I find that I hear a lot that, the breakdown comes because I've given so much. I've done so much for this person. I've given. And then when I thought that it was time for somebody to look out for me, and when I thought that somebody was going to be there for me, no one was there. And so that's even further breakdown of ourself, because we have an expectation.
Yes.
We have many.
Yes.
But this is one that, because I say to Sabrina that I love you, and I know what I mean within myself. When I say I love you, I know what that means.
Right.
For me, that means I'm going to have your back.
Right.
I'm going to be there for you when you need me. I will make exceptions for you. But and then Sabrina says to Shernette, I love you back, girl.
I love you back, girl.
But you don't mean what I mean.
Right. My loving you is not the kind of love that the way you need to be loved.
So sometimes we end up in relationships falsely because we have not stopped long enough to recognize the type of love that we're looking for, and to make sure that that is defined, that this is what you're getting. When you go to the store and buy something, I'm giving you my money. I want to see what I'm getting.
Right.
We don't do that when it comes to us and our relationships.
Yes.
We don't find out what we're getting back.
Right.
However, we have an expectation
Yes.
of what I think, because Sabrina looks a certain way and she laughs a certain way, and I feel we don't do that with our money.
Right. Right. Yes. Yes.
But we need to make sure that when we look at ourselves, when we think of ourselves, that we become important.
Yes. And it's so funny that you said something, and it just took me back to childhood with women, with little girls. What do we give them? Doll babies, right? And what is their expectation at 3-4 years old to take care of this baby? So the whole nurturing thing, that emotional attachment, that those things are already starting to build up in I'm a nurturer, I'm taking care of everyone else. And then when we talk about the emotional stability or the emotional health of women who are, a main source in the family, how it trickles down to our daughters, our sons, and our husbands, those people who, because we're staple. Yes, the Bible does tell us man is the head of the household, right? And the Bible also talks about a virtuous woman, what that woman does, what it looks like, that emotional peace, and being able to navigate that throughout life and throughout experiences that we go through.
And I think it's it's unfortunate, but there's a blessing in it. It's unfortunate that as small children, young people, teenagers, that we're not taught that the same pedestal that you have everybody else on, you need to be there as well.
Yes.
A lot of times I'm talking to people and they're like, I do so much. I want to make sure I take care of this person. I do so much for that person. I'm like, so what about you? And there's silence.
Right.
There's tears.
Right.
Because you don't even see yourself. And I will say, okay, so you have everyone else on this pedestal. And I'm thinking, where are you? I almost want to say, where you at? And I need to be able to look at you and say, it's not going okay.
Yes. And I think, and here at the Central Lehigh Valley and at the Sanctuary of Hope, we have the hashtag No Shame Zone. And we have adapted that saying because, again, going back to Christianity and the realness of what Christians go through, being able to be, and again, and I heard it at a conference, and my pastor mentioned it a Sunday ago, being authentic with many, yet vulnerable with few. And having that person to be able to say, okay, I am going through, I'm going through something right now. I'm emotionally unstable. And that.
And I don't have it together.
Right.
I do not have it together.
Like, girl, I'm about to lose it. Like, I need that person to
not judge me, hold me.
Yes.
I understand how you feel. And even if you don't understand, just be there.
Yeah. But then there's the misconception also that you're supposed to have it together. You're a Christian, you pray. You're not praying hard enough. Mm-hmm. Rebuke Satan in Jesus' name, and you'll be okay.
We find ourselves basically in a silo of our own, and we're suffering, and we're lonely. And then we get up and we go to church and we pretend to be what we are expected to be. It always comes down to the expectation of what we think we're supposed to be, of what we're expected to be. However, inside, you're going through life and you're going through your issues and you're alone.
Right.
And, you don't have the support that you're supposed to have. And that affects the family.
Right.
Because you know how, we've been taught, and some of us teach our children and tell, whatever happens in this house
right.
stays in this house. So nothing is being resolved. So you have and then you're thinking because you taught the children how to pray, that's going to keep them away from every evil. However, the evil is inside the house.
Yes.
Not being addressed.
Right. Wow. That's true. And then they go out and they get in relationships.
Looking for love.
In all the wrong places.
Because this is not at home. Because they're not comfortable at home. Right. Home has not nurtured or, home is not a place where they feel comfortable.
Right.
Because they're not able to then talk about their hurt. Yes. Because, the Lord will.
Right.
Yes, but there's something that we also must do.
Yes, and He provided those tools.
We have it in our toolbox. But we're not using it.
Right. Now, for you, being in the field that you are with mental health, throughout the years of you being within that field, how have you seen the emotions and mental and physical health of a person either deteriorate or has it gotten better? Like, what have you fed? I guess my question to you, how have you fed into the lives? I've seen you do it. Mm-hmm. But how do you feed into their lives by just being who you are?
There has to be an understanding of humanity. There needs to be an understanding of the human being. And there needs to be no judgment. Yes. And my understanding of what I always say, you're on a journey. I'm on a journey. Just because you're here in your journey, that does not make me any different from you. So just because I'm the one that's able to help you at this point does not make me different, does not make me better. Right. Okay? Yeah. So there needs to be that understanding that I can empathize, I can understand, I am listening. Yes. Okay? And one of the first things I always want that person to acknowledge themselves. Because I found in the experience that I've had, if one is not able to acknowledge themselves, it's hard to go further. Right. Acknowledge that you do exist. Acknowledge that you are important, that you are valuable. Yes. If you haven't loved yourself, can you actually start thinking about doing that? Is that possible? Can you do that? Right. Can you see yourself? Right. A lot of times we're so busy and I hear it constantly, handing out bottles of water to everybody, cups of water, and everybody is drinking. We're making sure that they drink because we understand how important it is for the body to be hydrated. However, I'm sitting over here parched.
Right.
Thirsty. Because I don't see the importance of me drinking.
And I think sometimes people feel selfish. Like, if I take care of me, and I know, and I can speak just for me on experience. I mean, when I look back at all the things I've done in my life relative to being busy and...
It's selfish to think about me. I shouldn't be thinking... I have to think about... I have to make sure that this person okay. I have to make sure that this person is okay. And I have to do this for that person. But I just don't have time for myself. But that's okay. Because it's okay. I'm all right. I'll be fine. You know? And, you know, initially we started talking about women. And women are important because we are the ones that are the managers of the family. Right? And if we're not taking, we are the managers. Yes, the men have a role, and there is a role, but it's a very important role. Very important role. And if we're not caring for ourselves, the family will suffer. We need to be able to say, okay, I need my time. Because the time that I give you, I also need that. I need to give myself that. I'm important. I'm valuable. And if you're not at that point, we're gonna have issues. If I'm not at that point, I'm going to have issues. That's where that mental health, it's very important. That's the starting line for me.
Yeah, because when people have mental breakdowns, it's all wrapped up into those emotional breakdowns. Like, I've come to realize as I continue to age gracefully.
Yes.
That the things I used to do, the things I put in my body, the way I think, how I get up in the morning, all of those things kind of dictate the rest of my day.
And that's where, you know, we're talking about, you know, and this applies to not only women, of course, but because we are such an influence to the family, we need to make sure that we're living in the moment. Don't be sitting down and think about, okay, what am I going to have for dinner? Got to pick the kid. Have a moment. If you're going to create a moment for yourself, tell yourself that I am worthy of this moment. This is mine. Okay? When I go pick the kids up, when I'm making dinner, that's what I'm doing then. Live in the moment. If we can learn to do that, our lives would become so much richer because then your heart is not racing and your mind is not racing to the next 2 hours or the next day. That you're having palpitations about something that has not even happened yet or may not even happen.
And it's like, and what you're saying is pretty much slowing yourself down. Slowing down.
Live in the moment.
Give us this day, right?
This moment. I even want to bring that back. Give me this moment. I've learned how important it is. I have learned, I'm a little bit older, I've learned how important it is to live in the moment. Sometimes you become so overwhelmed that even a whole day is too much. And it's okay. Sometimes even a whole day can become overwhelming, depending on what's going on. Okay? So, if you learn to live in the moment, you will learn to live in the day. Start with the moment.
Now, has there been a time in your life where you could say your emotions took over? That look. Oh my God.
Is that a question?
That look. Where your emotions took over, what made sense?
Question? Did I mention I went
Do that happen? Does that happen to people? Are there times where your emotions just take over what absolutely makes sense, and you find yourself like, what in the world did I do? Like,
did I mention I went through a divorce? I mentioned that, right?
Yeah, you did.
And especially when you are, and don't forget, Sabrina, you were brought up in a world that your family is your everything. It is your identity. It is your prosperity.
Yes.
So when that falls apart, you question you more than anything else.
Yes.
Why was I not able to?
Why did I fail?
Why did I fail? Where did I fail? The tears, the depression, the anxiety, the panic attacks. I'm talking about my experience. I don't know about anybody else. Okay? The constant depression. And then you got to get up and go to work and do your work and come and be at work like everything's okay, because in my profession, I have to take care of people. I have to be on point.
Yes.
So I don't have time when I'm at work to be depressed.
Right.
I'm depressed when I get back home.
Yes.
And I have to be by myself. And then the thoughts come, my children, my family, my failure.
Right.
So yes.
Yes. How did you navigate through that? Because I can identify. Because again, I too am divorced, and it was a tough. It's tough because of the way we grew up.
This is where the toolbox came in for me, and that's why I said it's very important to have a toolbox.
Yes.
It's very, very important to have a toolbox, and my toolbox. Thanks to my mom and my dad that prayed and taught me how. If it wasn't for prayer, I don't know what most people do. I don't know how people make it.
Right.
If I didn't, Lord, if I didn't know how to pray, and there were some times I couldn't even open my mouth to pray, Sabrina. I just had to close my eyes because I knew that God knew my heart, and He said, if you just moan, if all you can do is moan, sometimes that's all I did.
Right.
I just laid there in the bed and moaned, knowing that God knew my heart.
Yes. Yes. Wow.
I had some tools in my toolbox that I knew how to use. And that was the difference.
Nice. Okay.
Otherwise, I don't know how to answer that question, or or if I would have been here.
Right, what the end of the story would have
Seriously,
been.
to answer that question.
Yes. Yes.
So it's very important. We women have a role to play in family. And I don't believe that is stressed in our Christian faith.
Right.
And we don't learn until things start to fall apart.
Yeah.
And then we're like, well, the church told me that if every marriage has a problem, and if you pray, God will fix it. However, if you're not from the beginning utilizing those tools effectively and efficiently, if you got them tools and you don't know how to use them, nothing's going to happen.
Yes. Wow.
Nothing's going to happen.
Well, the good thing is, we're living proof that there is hope.
Thank God.
There is.
Yes.
And thank God for that hope. Thank God that even in the midst of the various things we go through, that emotional piece, that we can become emotionally healthy by having a toolbox, gathering that toolbox, and those things in that toolbox, such things as being able to pray. Having books. They have tons of nice books that you can read about what self-care looks like.
Oh my goodness.
Grounding you in a place where you're able to recognize that you are struggling. And I think that's one of the biggest pieces, because it took me a while to be like, wait a minute, I am an emotional mess. Like, I'm a mess. I have to admit that I'm a mess.
And it's okay.
Right. It's okay because
It's okay.
it can't be fixed unless I recognize and acknowledge that it's broken.
It's okay.
Yes.
And there's no shame in being a mess.
Right.
As long as you're working on fixing it. Again, it's a journey.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Right.
And Shernette, what would you say to our online audience at this time as we're talking about refine, reshape, renew in 2022? What would you say to them to give them hope as we move forward for a blessed year, an emotionally healthy year? What would your advice be to them?
My advice is that we at some point need to be the change we can start with our families, our churches. Let's stop pretending. Let's stop living up to expectations. Pull the curtains away, pull them back. Let's start being ourselves. How are you today? I'm not doing well. I am not doing well. I need you to pray for me. And if there are people, surround yourself with people that you can confide in and be real, because we have to stop playing. We need to stop playing because we're putting our family, our children are suffering mentally. They're suffering, and we have to stop living the Christian life like everything is okay. And our children, and sometimes we don't even know that they're suffering.
Be aware.
They're suffering, and when we do find out when it's so bad that now they need to be institutionalized, it's too late. So let's recognize our role. Be human. Be real. It's okay to not be perfect. I am not. I don't know anybody who is. But we sure can act like it, And it's not that important. It really isn't. Let's value ourselves. Let's value our children. Let's value the people around us, our friends. And when we break it down and simplify it, it'll start to make sense.
Yes. Yeah.
And the stuff that don't make sense, you'll be able to be like, well, that don't make no sense. It just doesn't. And it's okay to hurt. Even if you go to church and all the prayer services, it's still okay to have a struggle because that's a part of the journey. It's a part of our learning. It's a part of our growth. It's a part of the experience.
Yes.
I learned, I heard this from someone, you plant a seed, it has to be broken. There has to be a broken experience that happens for that seed to grow. It needs water, it needs rain. And we're no different. And if we're growing and if we're going to become anything, we have to be broken. So we have to go through something. And that's a part of it. And it's a natural process. So we don't have to hide.
Yes.
Pull the curtains back. It's
back.
okay. It's
like
okay.
I like that. Thank you so much, Shernette. Pull the curtains back.
Pull them all the way back.
All the way back. It's okay. So we are going to continue to promote that emotional, healthy being, knowing that we are able to get through this through the tools in our toolbox.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us here for our podcast. May God bless you. Thank you, Shernette, for being my guest. I love you. Thank
I love you as well.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.